Welcome to Driven. I'm your host, Paul Perrone. We're going to learn and talk about AI, robotics, autonomous vehicles, and so much more. Check us out at driven.show on the web and give us a thumbs up or subscribe here if you like the show. So kick back or buckle up and become driven. Hey everyone, and welcome to this special Driven retrospective episode. This year, in fact, just a few weeks ago, marked the 20th anniversary of the 2005 DARPA Grand Challenge. This was the event that helped launch the modern era of autonomous vehicles as we know it, and for me personally, a journey that I engaged, 20 years ago, a little bit more than that helped really shape my own career, my company, and ultimately the foundation of many of the things that I've been doing at Perrone Robotics, the company I started 23 years ago. It's thus a good time, a perfect time to look back at the story behind a documentary called Autopilots, which we just made freely available on YouTube. And the link is provided here and throughout the episode. Autopilots captures that sort of wild, sleepless period in my own life. Myself and a scrappy group of volunteers who took on the challenge from DARPA that they laid out. DARPA being a research arm of the Pentagon, for those of you who don't know. And this challenge was to build really the first autonomous vehicles that could cross the Mojave Desert. It was 150 miles of, or maybe they were saying 170 miles of desert terrain, without any driver on board, no one in remote control, through this sort of tricky environment. And the Autopilot story is also a story about, I guess you could call it obsession, maybe obsession or OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, depending on how you want to look at it. Inventing something new, comedic and tragic irony, both woven into the story, and how sort of big government challenges, in this case, DARPA's challenge, really sparked this 2-decade wave of innovation that we're all still surfing today. Now, my own path into AI, robotics, and autonomy started long before the challenge. I created my first neural network to analyze airport luggage scan data. I don't remember what form it was in, but it was to look at this data and try to detect hazardous materials. So there was, this was 1989, maybe 1992, I think. And then I went on to do some train control software work, and had really been deep into software engineering and embedded systems and middleware for many, many, many years, leading up to the Grand Challenge. From after that time, dabbling with neural networks through graduate school and into industry, but always really just fascinated with how software could interface with the physical world, either getting data from it through sensors or actually affecting it via like robotic controls, if you will. So when I founded Perrone Robotics, the idea wasn't really to build a company that made robots for its own sake or anything. It was to create, in this case, a software foundation for something that could control anything, because that was the breadth of my interest at that moment. All sorts of cars, robots, automatons, and more. Something a modular that I could reuse, extensible, and sort of bring intelligence into these systems that hither to that point didn't have such capabilities. And that software platform evolved to eventually become what we now call Max, our core robotics and autonomy software platform. But back then, it was all very experimental, running on stripped down Linux boxes and microcontrollers, cobbled together off the shelf hardware, and leading up to the challenge, a lot of late nights in my basement lab, trying to make things talk to each other, like getting just, one system talking to another system. Then one day, a friend of mine from DARPA calls as I was doing sort of this experimental work pre DARPA Grand Challenge. But he called and said, "Hey, DARPA is having this race through the Mojave Desert. These are going to be driverless vehicles, robotic vehicles. I know you're into robots. I figure you might be interested in this. And by the way, it's from LA to Las Vegas, no humans on board, $2 million prize for someone who can make it there. You should check it out." And I remember thinking to myself, well, that's interesting. The robots at that time were just sort of roaming around my lab, and I was thinking whatever I would build would probably be eaten by buzzards in the desert. I wasn't thinking about the size and form factor of vehicle that would need to handle such a challenge and handle that desert terrain. But then I thought, well, hey, the endpoint's in Las Vegas. It's an opportunity to double my prize money, right? I was thinking very optimistically, obviously, over optimistically. And I'm joking about that to some extent. It probably did cross my mind. But what followed was months and months of just sort of research to figure out what the heck to even to do. Definitely, I was in discovery mode at that point. Again, this was 2005. It was all pure invention at that point. I didn't have really much to go on. I had to figure out everything from scratch: how to control a steering wheel, how do you control a brake in a car and a vehicle, the throttle, the speed of this vehicle effectively, how to localize where it is and plot a route through the desert, through this terrain, and then how to see and perceive obstacles and, I guess, berms on the side of the road in this terrain, tumbleweeds that may cross our path. These are all the things I was thinking of. And then also what to do if the vehicle tips over. Could I build something rugged enough to navigate this kind of terrain? So I searched for what a suitable platform would be, and in retrospect, it was sort of overkill because I really thought it had to handle really rugged desert terrain. But it turns out, as you if you look back in hindsight, a regular 4x4 truck could handle the terrain. Even an SUV that ultimately handled the terrain would do, right. But I landed at the time on, hey, it was really necessary to build something that could handle the sand and heavy sand and thick sand and desert terrain. So what could do that? A dune buggy. Now, maybe I just wanted to have a dune buggy, but I looked into different options. I found a dune buggy manufacturer out in Tooele, Utah. There's a gentleman by the name of Dave Ageland, who had a company called Sandtech, and that's what he did. He built custom dune buggies and vehicles, traveling around out there in the salt flats of Tooele, Utah. And Dave was up for it. He was up for helping. He was he himself was paralyzed from the waist down, and was very much into like hand controls of vehicles for his own sake. And he was really keen to see how, we could make a drive-by-wire system for this dune buggy, and the concept of just automated driving intrigued him tremendously. So he was very, very instrumental and helpful because without him, I had no idea how to do any such thing with vehicles, and even how to do it. So Dave, after a pretty wide search, signed on board with me, and after me doing a wide search of different options, I should say. And in the early days, we had thought, well, this thing may roll over and we're going to have to self-right it. And how are we going to do that? We're going to have these arms that sort of protrude from the vehicle and right the vehicle if it rolls over. And if it rolls over, it should probably be it should probably not be square. It should be circular. So we ended up with this egg-shaped vehicle design. And at the end of the day, we could never roll this vehicle over. It would have just collapsed upon itself. But we did end up with this really cool looking design, Tommy, as I'll tell you a little bit more about its name origin in a minute. But but he built the Tommy sort of vehicle platform, and he integrated the steering wheel motor controls. I had told him sort of what motor to use, and sent him even the actuators, I think, for controlling the brake and the throttle based on the research I was doing at the time. And he had that vehicle on the back of his own truck that he had outfitted with hand controls, and drove it from Utah to my house in Virginia in, like, I think late November, because I really wanted to have it before, Thanksgiving that year. That probably was 2004. So a little less than a year before the Grand Challenge in 2005, in October 2005. So I had the vehicle here, and I needed a team and a name. So being from the Charlottesville area here, Charlottesville, Virginia, and a University of Virginia graduate, engineering school graduate from the grad school, I was trying to lure some University of Virginia folks and professors on board. I called the team Team Jefferson to keep it general and not really like company specific or anything like that, but also to honor Thomas Jefferson, who's from the area. And aside from being the guy behind the Declaration of Independence and a U.S. president, he was the founder of the University of Virginia. So searching for a name for the vehicle, I was really dialed into The Who at that time. I still am. I love The Who. They're a great band. But I had the Tommy CD. I was listening to CDs back then. And Tommy is this sort of rock opera about this young man who's unable to see and unable to hear, his journey to perceive and understand the world around him. And also there's sort of this double meaning, and that was similar to the vehicle, right? The vehicle was going to try to perceive and understand the world around it. And also the double meaning for Team Jefferson, right? Thomas Jefferson, the namesake, so Tommy. So I had the name Tommy. It was personable, and so Tommy was born when he arose here on the back of Dave Egeland's truck and was rolled off. I drove it off of the back of the truck, and we named him Tommy. So it took about a month to get the vehicle. I think I remember to the first moment where I had it on blocks in my basement lab. I had sort of widened some double doors into the basement to allow this vehicle to drive into the basement of my home, which my wife loved having a gas-powered vehicle in the house. So I had a hose going out the doors, and late nights revving the engine in the basement with the thing jacked up, and sending commands to it from a computer from a desk just a few feet away from it. And I remember one time my friend and the guy who's in the movie Autopilots and also who's been affiliated with the team, Mike Woosley, come by, and he likened the moment where I said, "Here, watch me send a command to steer the steering wheel here." So I hit a button on my computer, and about like 30 seconds later, the steering wheel moved like a half an inch. And he said that was like Frankenstein's finger moving. And so I always remembered that, and that became sort of the term of art that we use for the Frankenstein moment when we first get, an autonomous vehicle to start moving, if you will. But it was very uneventful, obviously, at that moment. And it took about a month or two later. I was I have some land out here in just outside Charlottesville, Virginia, and was in a field of my own on my property. And I was out there by myself. There was this moment when I had a course programmed around the property, and I was inside the vehicle and just sort of watching the computer screen as what would probably look like the Matrix, a bunch of numbers sort of flying by and text that I couldn't interpret. But the vehicle made a left turn and was navigating the course. And that was just very exciting and exhilarating, because at that moment, sort of the AI, the software that I had been working on was really bringing it to life. That was really the moment where like the vehicle was alive, because it was doing what it was commanded to do, and automated, right? So from there was just a series of events. We had to do a video submission to DARPA. Then once you made it past that milestone, they would come out and they did a site visit, and we had some folks come out, and we passed that. And there was like 400 teams who pitched, I think, applications to participate in this, and it got whittled down to a little over 40, and we were one of them. And I remember listening to the announcements, and then getting the acceptance letter, and that was it. We were going to be in the race, and that was a huge moment. And we were um all very just honored to be part of it, thrilled to be part of it. It was me and a few part-time volunteers, and you'll see some of them in the movie Autopilots if you watch the film, which is what this podcast is about, is to encourage you to watch the film and tell you a little bit about it and sort of the context for it. But it was me full time, and again, everybody else was pretty much part time. One gentleman, once we got into the race, kind of quit his job. Bo Fredrickson, great guy, and spent the last couple months working full time on the project. But the rest of the team was just part time, some students, and another local fellow, John Coleman, Mike Myers, David, Michael Britt Crane. We're all working on the team, and it was great. We were working towards getting this vehicle out to compete amongst giants. Really, there was the likes of Stanford and Carnegie Mellon, just excellent universities with excellent robotics programs and wonderful people. But big teams, right? With some money and a lot of experience and a lot of people power. Oshkosh had a team, so there were some bigger, there were some companies, corporate conglomerates, if you will, involved, and a lot of big names, and so we were honored to be part of it. It was very much felt like the David versus Goliath scenario, right? Bigger teams with people who have been doing this for a while, a lot of money, pitched up to participate in this race, at least relative to what we were spending, that's for sure. But talented folks, right? So, but I had this new way of developing software that I was working through, and it helped me create all the software, myself at that time, in maybe 9 months time. I think it was like the total, maybe I'll say 9 man months time. And to do also some of the hardware and the systems work with the help of, the team of volunteers. So the moment was coming to a head. We had to get the vehicle ready, and head west, right, to the events out in California. And that's where Autopilots really began to take shape. At the time, I had an idea, hey, there's kind of going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of interesting people and characters and things going on out there. Maybe we should film a documentary, where we could, feature some of the things that our team was doing, my team was doing, that I was doing, to show off some of the science, really, and the technology. Because it seemed like it was going to be a novel approach among, a sea of novel approaches. And I thought maybe we could pitch it to the Discovery Channel or something like that. And then through a mutual contact, I met a documentarian, a guy who was a film artiste, a Todd Free, who was, as crazy as me and gung-ho to take part in this adventure. And he was going to film it, right? And he would go on to film Autopilots. And we hit it off. Personality wise, but I had no idea how it would evolve, how any of this would come to be. And then a friend of mine, Stein, one of my old college buddies, calls me. He always had this way, like kind of Kramer from Seinfeld, to show up at just the right moment. And I love him dearly. But that's kind of how he was. He just kind of would disappear for long periods of time and then show up. And so he just sort of appeared out of nowhere and said, "Hey, You need any help? That's my best Stein impression. You can watch the movie and judge for yourself. And I said, well, you can drive the RV if because we really need a driver. And so he said, yeah, that sounds great. So obviously Stein is a lot more intelligent than I'm giving him credit for here. He is a really super smart guy. Does a lot of has done a lot of amazing things, but also just someone who's like goes to things like the Burning Man or at that time, right? This was 20 years ago, and was just into a lot of different enterprises and ventures. But he was going to be the RV driver. So we packed up the gear, we packed up the cameras, the computers, a trailer on the back of the RV with the Tommy vehicle in it, and we hit the road for California. Along the way, we filmed. Todd filmed everything with Stein holding the boom mic very often. We filmed the drive, um, the setup of tests along the way, a few late nights, and as you'll see in the movie, some amazing events that transpired. There was a lot of uncertainty as we cruised down Route 66 and made it to the California Speedway in Fontana, California. I don't even think it's named that anymore. It's named something else, I believe. But this was the California Speedway in Fontana, California, where the national qualification events for the DARPA Grand Challenge were held. And then the build up to race day and the intensity of it all. And I won't give away any spoilers here. You can watch the full story for free in the documentary Autopilots. It's an hour and 15 minutes. It's free on YouTube. But there are some moments that are unforgettable, ones that I would like to forget, to be quite honest. There was certainly the competition, and I just met a lot of great people. But there was heartbreak and some breakthroughs, one and the same, right? It was raw, real, and all revolutionary. I didn't expect what happened to happen. It was all early research and tight budgets. But I was really excited about the prospects of it all, despite all the unknowns that we were venturing into. And then here's where it kind of gets even more interesting. The Autopilot's producer, Todd, had more of a human interest angle in mind versus the more scientifically oriented documentary that I was, thinking about. And he had real good instincts and ended up being in the right place at the right time and saw the cast of characters involved, myself included, I guess, as interesting. And thought, this should really be woven into the story to make it interesting. And as well as the things that I was talking to him about, DARPA, an agency that I had, and had tremendous respect for. Also, the things that I was into, the artificial intelligence, robotics, and this thing called the singularity. I think I just read Ray Kurzweil's "The Singularity Is Near" book about the future of where this technology could go, and how things are accelerating very rapidly. Again, this was 2005, right? So 20 years ago. And there were some other things I was reading, and Todd took it even further with his own research. So while I was busy tending to Tommy and the race events and working with my team, he was capturing some really interesting and amazing interviews, and also the story, not only at the race but afterwards, interviewing people. He went around with Stein to interview others to round out the story. So he filmed one gentleman who had a sort of a unique anti sort of military point of view, I guess you might call it. And I was from, more from a family that had military background. I had my own interests in history and the like, and admiration for DARPA as an organization. But it ended up being good, for the film, right? To weave in another, perspective juxtaposed with all of this stuff that was going on with this rapid race towards trying to win this prize, and what were we really doing, right? Um, and so, bringing some of, I guess you might call it, irony into the picture was good. There's this one guy with the critique, and then just different people with different points of view. Some aligned, some not. While some of us were just moving forward in sort of this relentless celebration of human ingenuity and trying to make it into the challenge and succeed in what we were doing. And then also he captured some futurist viewpoints as well, which was really interesting. There's also some friction at the event with the chief judge at the time. Everybody at DARPA was really generally great. But we had some friction with the chief judge, which is not great. That's part of the story. Again, I won't give it away. It wasn't a smooth ride. It was a competition at the bleeding edge. There was a lot of sleepless nights, tense moments, cycles of happiness and depression and disappointment and then elation. And yet, despite all these creative tensions and ups and downs, Todd really skillfully weaved in something that expanded the scope of the film entirely. We had been talking about, he and I, about the singularity, before the race. And then, of course, spending time in the RV talking about it and the rise of AI. He seemed to take a real interest in that. As I mentioned, had read Kurzweil. I read a few other books on the topic of course, I'd been studying and practicing a lot of this technology for many years, but reading some more recent books about how things were really starting to accelerate. This was 2005 again, and it alluded to something that bigger was going on behind all this. And he dove in himself and read even more. He went out and interviewed not just Ray Kurzweil, but Bill Hibbard, and he's another AI pioneer, Joel Garreau, who covers sort of covered the future of this technology and where it's going, and others that you'll see in the film. And I think, again, he wove it into the film beautifully, connecting our story in the desert to this larger story of humanity, sort of building these thinking machines and what it could mean for the future. And do we know what we're doing? Are we just sort of building something that's going to hurt us, or is it going to help us, or what is it going to do? And I think it was really good to weave that in. And looking back now with the explosion of generative AI and ChatGPT and autonomous systems and the pace of this technology, 20 years later, those interviews were astonishingly prescient. And so I think you'll enjoy that. When I watch Autopilots today, I see this younger version of myself, darker hair, better skin, pure exploration mode, pure research mode, a lot different from, what I'm doing today. I didn't have the expensive LiDAR that back then. I didn't have a team to create, different algorithms for different pieces. I was kind of rolling it all myself. I didn't have cloud compute, nor did anybody else at the race, I don't think, or certainly not, or GPTs or deep learning modules. I think everybody was really just figuring it all out as we went. But that raw curiosity, that willingness to fail, rebuild, and iterate became the DNA of my company as it even persists today, 20 years later. The software that started as an experiment, as code for a desert robot, eventually matured into Max, this software platform, which is production grade today. It powers real deployments from transit vans to buses and more. It even powered at one point a large mining truck, tractor trailers, SUVs cruising through Milton Keynes, England, as much as they've cruised through all parts of the U.S. And even Neil Young, rock legends, his 1959 Lincoln Continental that I had the opportunity to work on at one point to automate pieces of that. So the same software has been in all of these things, and it had its roots in the Grand Challenge. So it's humbling to think that these first lines of code were written before the iPhone even existed. I think the world has changed, and we evolved with it, right? So, um, 20 years later, what does it all mean? DARPA did something very extraordinary. They didn't just sponsor and put on this race. They really catalyzed and created an industry. This space that we're in now. They really lit the spark. They created a proving ground that really inspired people like me to even participate in this. And I thank my friend for Anoop Ghosh, who I went to school with and I've known forever for a long time, to prod me into participating in that race, and or at least telling me about it. Um, Maybe he did that just to sucker me into it. I don't know, Anoop. I don't know what you were thinking, but no, it was a good thing. I really appreciate it. And then hundreds of others who are involved in this, right? Probably similar stories, and to take the leap from research to reality. I remember calling sponsors back then. We were trying to get some money to pay for our trip out and what have you, and telling them we were building a vehicle that could drive itself. You got to think back then, people were like, "What? This? Yeah, right." They'd heard of Knight Rider, and they heard of Herbie, the driverless car, if you remember from the 60s, and other things like that. So it was all very much science fiction. So I recall a lot of, obvious disbelief, and just like, yeah, sure, here's a few dollars. Good luck. We hope you do well. And then a lot of dial tones, a lot of people that just hung up. But today autonomy isn't a futuristic dream, right? We almost take it for granted. It's real products, it's real services, it's providing real tangible benefits in many ways. It's still coming along in many spaces. It's a difficult problem, and while we've got a lot more, myself, in the way of, our company, in the way of, larger contracts, investors over the years, professionals on board into the company. And I myself have spent 20 years diving deep and broad into the arena of self-driving cars, autonomy, AI. That classic underdog spirit, that small team working towards the big challenges, still drives me and our company spirit today. I believe this is the world's most complicated problem still. I've given a talk as recent as a little over a year ago, and it's on the Driven podcast. You can look it up on the website, about just that, and I justify that sort of inflammatory statement that it's the world's most complicated problem, and I try to prove it. Maybe inflammatory is not the right word. But anyway, it's a claim that I make, and I try to justify it, and I think it's right. I think it's accurate. It's an incredibly complicated problem, and while our team size, our own team size, has grown, and we've structured many times over the years to figure out, what's the right, not just find product market fit, but team market product fit. It really is the small team that is, I think, the only viable way to tackle these complex problems like this efficiently and effectively. And don't get me wrong, the one person plus, handful of part-time volunteers, that was, really my experience with the DARPA Grand Challenge, was a little too sparse. It's a little too on the low headcount range of the spectrum. But a small team, 8 people, maybe no more than 16, is really the right formula for success. And I think if you look at sort of the history of some of the big projects, ranging from the birth of the Mac to what goes on at Tesla and SpaceX and what have you, and Amazon, you'll hear similar things from the innovators and the folks in those organizations, and the history of this technology. And while the tech is important, having a platform, a software platform, was a force multiplier. Novel, I think, for its time. But this form of autonomy was just really never about technology, right? It requires people, right, with relentless dedication, focus, small teams that can make something that moves the world forward possible, right? Something complicated. And here we are, two decades later. I think we see that in our own company and across the industry. So if you haven't seen it yet, check out Autopilots, the documentary, on YouTube. It's streaming for free, and it'll stream for free on YouTube, hopefully forever. But you can catch it now. It certainly puts today's events in perspective. You can watch it as a time capsule of where autonomy began and maybe a glimpse of where it's still going. I hope you enjoy it. I think you will enjoy it. Like I said, there's a lot of good interviews in it as well. And I think Todd did a fantastic job putting it together. And while it aired in the Virginia Film Festival, I think it was 2013, it premiered there. And then we had it on Amazon Prime for a while. The distributor went out of business. So the dollar that I paid for that digital copy of Autopilots on Amazon Prime was never refunded. And so I apologize for that. And I feel bad for anybody else who spent that dollar to pay for the Amazon Prime version, but it's available free on YouTube. The link is provided here throughout this whole podcast. Thank you for watching this special 20-year retrospective edition of Driven. And I'll catch you next time. I've got another episode coming up that I think you'll enjoy, but I hope you enjoyed this special retrospective edition and the intro to Autopilots, the documentary. I hope you enjoyed the show Driven with me, Paul Perrone, your host. Don't forget to check us out at driven.show on the web and give us a thumbs up or subscribe here if you like the show. Thank you for listening in. See you soon.